in our armed forces. You know, I was thinking this morning, when you enlist in the military, you have to take an oath that says you're going to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. On this program, we talk a lot about the foreign threats. Maybe tonight we should spend some time on the growing domestic one. It's easy to sit back and watch television and complain that our politicians aren't listening to us, that they're lying to us about the border, about out-of-control spending, or their apparent relentless quest to hand our country over to special interests. It feels, at least to me, like our leaders reflect an America that most of us don't even recognize. Well, here's the point tonight. While our foreign enemies are the obvious ones, the physical threat may be developing domestically as well. And here's how I got there. As I told you last week, Ron Paul raised over $4 million in one day. That's huge news. His supporters raised the cash on November the 5th to commemorate Guy Fawkes. This guy was a British terrorist who tried to overthrow the government by blowing up Parliament and killing everybody in it. Paul's supporters called the donations, and I'm quoting, a money bomb. Fawkes was caught the very last minute, some say, with his hand on a torch about to light the gunpowder under Parliament. Now, the vast majority of Paul's supporters take this little metaphor the way it's intended, as a rallying cry to create a dramatic political shift. It's really not the way I would go, you know, tying my movement in with a historical terrorist attack, especially in post-9/11 America. But hey, you know, I'm a libertarian at heart. I get it. You raise money however you want, as long as you're not blowing other people up. But America, here's what you need to know tonight. Ron Paul's supporters are tapping into something that's very real. It's something that I've talked about on this program for a very long time. The rising tide of disenfranchisement in this country. And it's coming from all sides of the political spectrum. If that feeling of disenfranchisement leads to political discussion, then our system works perfectly. But if fringe elements take that disenfranchisement and turn it into violence, we endanger the freedoms we're supposedly all fighting for. David Horowitz is the author of Indoctrination U, The Left's War Against Academic Freedom, and Jonathan Sands. He is a writer and founder of Churchill's Britain. He is also the great-grandson of Sir Winston Churchill. Jonathan and David, it's good to have you here. Jonathan, let me start with you. Guy Fawkes, as I understand it, he is basically an old-timey Timothy McVeigh.
Sorry, say that again.
That he is England's version in the 1600s of Timothy McVeigh, except his bomb didn't work. He's a terrorist,
yes.
Is he not?
Yes, he was a terrorist, very much so. He had a very clear set of views. He was a Catholic and wanted to return Britain to a Catholic realm. And he was backed by the Pope in Rome to blow up Parliament, blow up James I and his government, and overthrow and then have a Catholic king reinstated.
All right. Now, one of his big things, and I think this is where it ties into today, one of his big things was he felt that nobody was listening to him, that the government wouldn't respond. We felt that way, and that's why we disbanded from Great Britain in the 1700s as well, because we felt like the king wasn't listening to us. Do you sense at all that this is the same kind of thing that is going on in Great Britain and in America right now?
Yes, this is a problem that we are facing at the moment in Great Britain, certainly, and also in America. We have governments that are promising an awful lot of things for the voters, but they aren't delivering on them. But nobody is actually asking the people, what do you actually want? What is it in education that you want? What is it in life that you actually want? Nobody cares.
Well, David, let me go to you, because you were a Marxist in the 60s. You were a radical. You were a guy that was exactly the opposite of where you are now. Winston Churchill, I believe, said that, you know, when you grow up, you need to get some common sense. Is this the same kind of thing, or is this worse than what it was in the 60s with the radicals then?
Oh, I think it's much worse. So first of all, my parents were communists, and they were part of a vast conspiracy that was orchestrated from Moscow and wanted America to lose the Cold War. We have a lot of people in this country who think that we're the enemy. And a lot of them are drawn from the ranks of the old left and the new left, the secular left. But to them has been added a whole new constituency of Muslim radicals, of which there are many in this country and in our campuses. And then the Democratic Party leaders, out of a very short-sighted desire for political advantage, have defected from a war that they all supported, and have denigrated the mission of this war and fueled the fires of what you call disenfranchisement.
Let me take it back the other way, though, David. It's not just the left this time; it's also the right. I mean, Ron Paul supporters are also the right, and that's from people saying, you know what? Bush has really not told us the truth, not told the American people the truth on government spending, on the border, and even when it comes to the war. You didn't tell us that we are in the fight of our life. You told us to go shopping.
Well, but he did say it's going to be a long war. You're right. There's a strain of isolationism and anarchy in the American tradition, which Ron Paul is tapping into. I think it's very significant that he chose Guy Fawkes as an image. There are plenty of, unfortunately, libertarian websites which are indistinguishable from the anti-American left these days.
Yeah.
LouRockwell.com and others like that. They are totally in bed with the Islamo-fascists and have turned against this country.
Jonathan, I met you, I think a couple of weeks ago, and we had a
Yes.
conversation. You are as concerned about your country as we are here in America
Yes.
on ours. You're seeing that it's being sold out as well. That there's something beneath the surface that is just washing everything away.
Glenn, we have had an agreement in this country for many years now that if our allies in America go to war, that we will join you in that battle. I believe David is completely right in what he is saying, that when George Bush stood up and actually said that we were going to go to war against terrorists, and when Tony Blair stood up and said the same thing, both our countries, both our peoples and our governments were behind it, were behind those two leaders. In this country at the moment, we are now looking at a backlash where everybody is saying, oh, we've got to get out of Iraq now, and we can't look at Iran and everything like that. There's a total loss of traditional values in this country for continuing and finishing what we start.
Okay.
Once you've begun something, you've got to stop it.
Jonathan, thank you very much. David, I'd love to have you on the radio program and talk about your history with your family and what that
Absolutely.
was. So maybe we'll line that up. Okay, where am I wrong? The Ron Paul Revolution. I think it's meant to be a catchy slogan, but I fear some of his fringe supporters are taking the word revolution too literally. Agree or disagree, you can go to CNN.com/Glenn right now and cast your vote. Coming up.